I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies.
Welcome to Tell the Truth podcast, where we tell nothing but the truth and the whole truth. And today's guest is no other than OG Hollywood. While he's here to talk about his history, I'm here to get his story.
Facts, 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 facts. I'm here to tell the truth, the whole truth, is nothing but the truth. Because you know what? Where I'm from, they say the truth will set you free. Not all the time, no.
All right, OG. So I want you to take us back to the moment your life changed. Can you tell our guests?
The moment my life changed, right? I can remember like it was yesterday, even though it wasn't yesterday, right? Uh, it was 1981. 1981, and that day was brutal to me as a kid growing up in the West Dallas projects. For those that don't know, the West Dallas projects once was one of the biggest housing authorities in America. And that is the honest to God truth, right? And one of those moments I can remember was very traumatizing. Picture this. At the age of 13, seeing your mother brutally murdered in the streets by active gun violence. Active gun violence. 13 years old, she was brutally murdered in the streets. Shot 3 times by a friend. Later on to find out she was really a foe. That's what it was like for me growing up in one of the biggest housing projects in America.
So fast forward a little bit. Can you tell my audience the day that you entered the Texas Department of Criminal Justice?
Brutal, 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 brutal. Let's put it like that. Entered the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, I did. 1990 was the year I entered the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I can remember doors slamming, people yelling in the hallways, uh, people asking where you from, what you gonna do, what set you bang, uh, are you gonna fight, fuck, a bus of 60. For those that don't know, what that mean is, are you gonna stay down for what you put down? I can remember that real vividly. It was clear that I was exiting a juvenile system and I was entering a real prison system where everything goes.
So tell us, what did you learn quickly about surviving in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice?
What did I learn quickly about surviving in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, right? Uh, I learned that it doesn't matter where you're from, you will be tried. What I mean by tried, it's a group of people in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice when I went, right? Uh, they represented a group of people where they like to take advantage of a man's manhood. For those that don't know, which is a good question from you, for those that don't know, these men were called booty bandits. And you will get raped on sight if you showed any weakness. And it didn't matter where you was from and what city you was from. It was such thing as said, try them all. That's what I learned real fast.
So what was it like trying to stay safe in prison?
You either killed or be killed.
So prison in the 90s isn't the same as prison now. So how did the environment change over the decades when you were there?
Put it like this: prison in the 90s. I picture it like this: it was very, very segregated. Prison was very segregated, and you had a section of Hispanics sit over here, blacks sit over here, and whites sit back by the pistol. And what I mean by back by the pistol, uh, not all whites were weak, but the ones that were weak couldn't sit with the normal whites that were willing to die for what they believe in. And there was a lot of them in there that were willing to die for what they believe in. To sum it all up, in Texas prison now, you are being issued tablets and you are housed with a diverse group of people. Like I said, when I went, uh, they had wooden benches, and those wooden benches were being broke down as weapons. And like I said, it was very racist, and people were getting brutally hurt every day in the day room by those weapons that came from the benches. See, you got to remember you had nails this long. And in this prison system in 2025 or from the 2000s, it changed because that's when the Safe Prison Act came into effect. And when Safe Prison Act came into effect, you couldn't even yell loud, or you had officers coming to the aid of those that were considered weak. That's how prison has changed so much.
So what's one thing about prison life you wish people on the outside understood better?
That once a man is convicted of a crime, he's already been punished in the courts. And people on the outside world shouldn't hold a double standard on a man that already been punished. And it's a real big myth to where people think that if you are convicted of a certain crime, once you get inside a prison, the inmates inside a prison are going to treat you different as the public perceives you. What I mean by that, if you go to prison for a sex crime on a kid, nobody in prison is going to take action against you. And it's the reason why. If I'm serving a life sentence and they give you a life sentence for a crime that you committed in the world, I don't have time to try and impose a punishment on you for doing something you did in the world. But people in the world think that's how that happens in prison, and it don't go like that.
Okay. Let's talk about the road to freedom. As your release date got closer, what were your biggest fears and your biggest hopes?
As my release date got closer to freedom,
After serving how long?
25 calendar years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
On a
sentence? On a life sentence. So one of my biggest fears was this, is that I didn't want to cross the line before I was set free. What I mean by that, because people in prison have a tendency to try you more when they know that you have a release date coming. And that happens on several occasions as people, find out, hey, this person going home or that person going home. Let me give you this is just a glimpse of what guys do when they find out you're going home. In other words, what I'm saying, that you might have a guy that haven't been in your space since you've been in prison, but the first time he find out you're going home, he want to try you. And what I mean by that, the day that I was being released, or the month that I found out I was going home, I never forget. It was a guy out of Fifth Ward, Texas, right? And we was having a normal basketball game on the court, right? And this guy had never ever spoke to me in a negative way. But the minute he found out I was going home, he kicked the ball over the fence and he said, "Bitch, you going home. You ain't gonna do nothing." That's one of the examples I said when an inmate find out you going home. This is the kind of behavior when I was in prison that you could expect from the people that would never ever step into your space if they know that they was gonna wake up with you the next day.
So, after being released, what's been the hardest adjustment after 25 years away from society?
The hardest adjustment for me was learning how to adjust to rejection. What do I mean by rejection? From being accepted at certain jobs, because every time you sign an application, it asks the question, how long have you been on this job? Or how long have you been on that job, right? Knowing that you served calendar years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and you have no job history other than a SSI, other than you worked in the kitchen, other than you worked in the laundry. That was one of my biggest fears, rejection from the people in society. And the adjustment of just being here, you know, because when you come from a controlled environment to where everything around you is controlled, and when you get free, you have to make the necessary adjustments and create your own environment that you control. Because people can get somewhat institutionalized. And you got a lot of guys say, well, I'm not institutionalized, right? And I find that to be an untrue statement. Since I'm on Tell the Truth podcast and we tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, right? Uh, when you housed inside of an institution for so long, it doesn't come by choice. It's really pulled on you because you are inside of an institution where everything is controlled. You don't have to think for yourself. You don't have to do nothing for yourself because people tell you exactly what you gonna do, when you gonna do it, and how you gonna do it. And coming to society, you are your own control mechanism. You go to sleep when you get ready. You wake up when you get ready. Everything is on you. In other words, what I'm saying, uh, you have to make the choices of what you're gonna do in your life when you free, whether they good or whether they bad. And I understand that sometimes those choices can lead to consequences and repercussions, right? Uh, it's just relearning how to live all over again. And for me, and me only, uh, I never had to worry about that struggle due to the fact because of the support team that I had when I was set free from the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. But other guys are not so lucky.
Okay. I want to go back for a moment. So, uh, when a person is sentenced to life in prison and you're a man and there's those temptations, there's those temptations in prison, you got them because now there's female officers in prison, right?
Yeah.
So talk to the audience since you're on Tell the Truth podcast.
Well, it's a lot of times that when guys are sentenced to a substantial amount of time in prison, uh, it's hard. I mean, it is over the top hard, right? And some guys turn to guys.
Or to women.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but that's if you lucky enough to get a woman in prison. Most guys are not that lucky. And the reason why I say that is because uh, it takes a certain amount of skills to even be able to convince a person to cross that line with you, right? And I firmly believe in you are what you are, no matter where you go. There you are. In other words, what I'm saying is just because you go to prison, that don't mean that you will be able to acquire a relationship with a female officer. It don't work like that. You have to be a special individual to get somebody else to cross that line with you. In other words, to believe in you. And it is a true saying that prison is full of promise makers and heart breakers.
Okay, all right. If you could speak to someone that's about to start a long sentence, what would you tell them? Because prison's changed now.
Don't do it. Don't do it. But in the event that you've already did it, hold yourself accountable for your actions. Hold yourself accountable for your actions and prepare for the mental struggle. Prison is mental now. It is so far past physical. But don't get me wrong, you still can get your ass kicked. If you cross the line with the wrong person on the wrong day. But majority of prison right now is really mental. And we got a lot of guys that are mentally unstable. A lot of guys that are not equipped to do 1 day in jail. So my advice to them, if you cannot do the crime, do not do the time.
Okay, this is for all my lawmakers out there that's listening to Tell the Truth podcast. So, Mr. Henderson, if you could speak to a lawmaker right now about prison reform, what would you say?
To any lawmaker that's listening, whether Democrat or Republican, congressman, senator, anybody that has a platform where your voice matters. If you go make us serve the time, at least let us vote. If you can make us work and tax us for everyday wages, at least let us vote. That's fair.
Yes, yes. So, after everything you've been through in Hollywood, what do you want your life to stand for now?
A purpose. My life is, I want to be an inspiration to others. In other words, what I'm saying is that you don't have to go to prison because me and a lot of men went for you. But I understand and I get it that social media itself can either influence you to do the wrong thing or it can influence you to do the right thing. It's all about choices. Uh, I just want to be an inspiration to those that want to cross the finish line and say, hey, enough is enough. That's what I stand for today.
Okay, and as we wrap it up, if you can leave one message with our listeners about hope, change, or resilience, what would it be?
Hope, change, and resilience, right? Always like to say this. Uh, don't give in to voluntary ignorance. Because if you know better, you'll do better. Once again, don't give in to voluntary ignorance. If you know better, you do better. And you just try to be a better person in your everyday life, man, because life is too short to put negative energy out into any environment that you're in, man. It's like this, man. You hear a lot of people say that it is what it is, but when it's really not, it is what you make it. If you have any chance of crossing the finish line, you have to believe in the things that you put out. And I don't know what you put out, but I will say this. The time I did, which was 25 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, it only helps you if you want to be helped. And remember this, the most dangerous man in the world is the man that has his mind made up, whether it's negative or whether it's positive. And we all have choices. I made a bad choice in 1990 that cost me 25 years of my life, which was 89% of my life that I spent in prison. But you got a choice right now. You, as a listener, you have a choice to tell the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Choices is what I like to call it.
Hollywood, thank you again for coming on our podcast, Tell the Truth, Nothing But the Truth. I appreciate you as always. Thank you for keeping it 110.
Peace. And for those that was listening, I appreciate you for listening. And I understand that sometimes things in life might not be what you want them to be, but understand this, that if you keep grinding and keep working, those resources will show up. Trust me, those resources will show up. But if you don't, remember this, it's one size fits all in any prison system you enter, and they don't mind taking you. I appreciate you for having me, and I just really hope that somebody can take this message and change their life. That's my hopes for this interview today.
And telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies. That's simply it.